Jesus, come in today, come in to stay, come into my heart, Lord Jesus. Bow your head and close your eyes. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Bless my mom, bless my dad, bless me, and bless my little brother. Bless everybody in this church. Let nothing bad happen to us, and let nothing bad happen to all of us. And God, please bless all of us. And when we leave, we can go home safely with no problem. And in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you, Gena. Thank you. Okay. Yes, as we already say, you are guys are welcome, all right, to our program. So, Sister Celeste is outside. We would like to say a big thank you to Sister Celeste for assisting Sister Harris this morning. She was translating for her. The program and everything was well done. So we welcome you once again, Sister Harris, and everyone to the meeting, to the seminar. So as I said already, she doesn't want me to say anything huge, anything big about her, except she is a servant of God, a child of God. We are welcome you, the children's department. Welcome you, Sister Harris, to the program this afternoon. Now you have the mic.
Good evening, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here. I have been the coordinator for Greater New York for some time, and I remember when I started, this was one of my churches that I was a coordinator for. That was many moons ago. But we're not going to talk about that, all right? It doesn't serve, or what I should say is that I wouldn't go to heaven if you know who I am about my credentials or anything like that. That's not what I'm about. Even though I can list it for you and I can tell you all the things that I've done in my life and everything like that, that's not important to me. What's important to me is that I love God and God loves me and I'm a child of God. So that's what it is. That's all you need to know about me. If you need to know more, I will talk with you. But for now, that's about all. So this afternoon, we're going to be talking about safety. We're going to talk about child abuse, neglect, prevention, and how we can, what you as a child or an adult or someone else who is listening out there would be able to know what it is all about being abused and how to protect yourself from being abused. I don't have a, so when I do this, you move it, please. Okay? Okay. So we don't need to know who I am again, but I'm a Greater New York lead coordinator for the Manhattan, for the Queens area. I was from the Brooklyn, the Manhattan area before, but now I'm in the Queens area again, and I'm happy to be here. Safety and protection. I'm not going to stand here and talk all evening. And where are the parents? The parents need to be in the room as well, because they need to understand what it is I'm talking about so that they can talk to them children about it. So please get the parents up here. I'm going to wait a little bit until they come up. You guys can stay up here. Someone will go and get them. But can anyone tell me, why is it important to safeguard yourself? Can any of the children in the room can tell me why it is important for you to be safe? Why is it important for you to be safe? No thoughts? Is it important then? Is it important for you to be safe? Yes. Then why? Yes, a lot of things are happening and people are getting kidnapped. So you need to know how to protect yourself, right? Anybody else want to give it a shot? Anybody else? Well, for me, it's important that we all know how to protect ourselves, because there's going to come a time when mom and dad is not going to be there. Probably might be getting bullied in school. And you talk to the teacher and the teacher's still not listening to you. You need to know how to protect yourself, what you can do, how you can do it, and what not to do as well. And do you know that if you stand up to a bully, the bully would leave you alone? If you stand up to a bully, yes, the bully will leave you alone because they're scared too. And you always say to them, stop, I don't like it. Anybody that is trying to interfere with you, trying to touch you, trying to make you feel uncomfortable in any way, say, stop, I don't like it. And move away from them. Don't stand up there, just move. Just go tell a teacher, tell someone else that you trust. And when you reach home, please let mommy and daddy know that this is what was happening in school today. And let someone else, if it's with your grandma or your uncle, your aunt, whoever it is that you're living with, please make sure that they are aware of what it is that's going on with you. And parents, it is very important that you know your children. If your child go to school today and the child is happy, when the child come back home, the child is sad, something is going on. So find out from that child what it is going on with that child, him or her. Because it's very important. You have to know your child and you have to speak to your child. Not talk down to your child, but talk, have a conversation with them. Find out how they're doing in school, what it is that's going on with them, how are they feeling, what else that you can do to make it easier for them. Because they have a hard time as well. We as adults think that we are the only ones that have a hard time. But that's not true. The children has a hard time as well. They have to go to school every day and deal with the situation at school. Sometimes people are bullying them. People are talking down to them. People are screaming at them for no reason. So they sometimes have a hard time. And if they come home and they can't talk to you about it, then who can they talk to? Right? So protection is the responsibility of every person in a child's life or a children's ministry. It is imperative that churches develop safe guidelines and security policies to provide a safe and nurturing environment in which children can participate in a fun, spiritual, and learning way. We all have our ups and downs, but it is very important that you understand that protection of our children, of our loved ones, should be utmost in our minds at all times. Psalms 127:3 say, "Lo, children are the heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward." In this workshop, we'll cover introductory information, abuse prevention, the principle of abuse, conference volunteer screening requirements, staffing levels, transportation guidelines, emergency plans and supervision issues. In addition, each of you will be able to identify the different types of abuse and ways to prevent child abuse. That is very important, to know what constitutes or what entails child abuse, what to look for, and how you can prevent it. Within Greater New York Conference, which is our conference, we say that zero tolerance. We would not accept anything else but zero tolerance for our children. We would not expect that anyone else outside would abuse our children. And you may say, this will never happen to me. Or we are in the church, and it's not going to happen inside of the church. But I have news for you. It can happen right here. In this same church right here, it can happen, and it can be happening as well. So you need to be vigilant as to what it is that's going on, and take precedence and make sure that it doesn't continue, that it stopped, and that it don't continue anymore. You have to make sure of that. Child abuse will not be tolerated by any Seventh-day Adventist church. To effectively manage risk of children, each conference should require the active support and cooperation of everyone, not just the ministers, the Sabbath school teachers as well, the Pathfinder director, the Adventure director, the staff that works with them, the staff that works with the children ministries, family ministries, elders, everybody is part of this because you all come in contact with a child in one way or the other. The child comes through that door, and you are in contact with that child, so we all have to be vigilant of what's going on. Apart from that, we all must get the screening and the background check. When you get the screening and the background check, it tells the church and it tells the conference that you are not susceptible to doing the things that you are doing, or you have not done it yet. And if you are doing it, it needs to be put, a stop needs to be put to it. You can ask questions at any time. You can make comments at any time. I don't expect to stand up here and talk all evening. All right? If you have a question, or if the audience, I'm sure that there are other people online, if they have a question, take the question, please, and pass it on to me, and I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. And you may ask, why a background check? What's so important of having a background check? As I said before, all of us are in touch with our children. And I say our children, meaning they are all our children. You don't have to birth that child for that child to be yours. Once that child comes through the door of your church or your youth ministry or your children's ministry, they are your responsibility. And so they should be your child or your children. As part of this effort, those over 18 who are voted to serve within our churches or organizations, and those who are employed by church and working with children should take this volunteer screening, as well as the background check. And that's the website there. If you don't have it, I can give it to you again to let you know how to get on. But every person, including the pastors, is supposed to get this done. And it should be across the board, not just in your church alone, but all the churches within Greater New York, Northeastern, Southern New England, Northern New England, Bermuda, New York conferences. All the conferences has to do this within the Atlantic Union and within the North American division, as well as the General Conference. So we are all part of this great ministry, so that our children are safe and that we are protecting them through doing the screening and the background check. Definition of child abuse. Who can tell me what child abuse is all about? Does anyone have a definition that they want to share? Go. You can read it too. They can read it so that they can get a better understanding. Someone want to read it for me?
Child abuse is when a parent or caregiver, whether through action or failing to act, causing injury, death, emotionally harm, or risk of serious harm to a child. It refers to any emotional, sexual, or physical mistreatment or neglect placed by an adult in a role of responsibility towards someone who is under 18 years old of age.
Okay, so anybody under 18 years of age can be abused. Is that correct? Can someone over 18 be abused as well? Yes. Okay. So every child can be abused, whether you're a baby, whether you're 3 years old, whether you're 4, whether you're 5, whether you're 19, whether you're 20. But the difference, what it is it's saying here, is that anybody 18 years of age and older who abuses a child can have a penalty to it. They can suffer the consequences. They can go to jail, right? They can go to jail for that. And don't be afraid if something is happening like that to you to tell someone else that that is happening to you. Don't be afraid. Stand up for what it is. Or if you know someone else is having that situation happening to them, please bring it to light. I know many times that I as a social worker, when I was dealing with social work, I'm retired now, but when I was dealing with social work, I've had to go to churches where pastors didn't say what was going on because the elder that was the perpetrator was the best friend to the pastor, or was a person that everybody looked up to, and they felt that this person couldn't do it. But they can do it. So we're not supposed to put it under the rug. We're supposed to bring it to light and let everybody know what is going on so that we can protect our children. And anyone that is doing this situation, this perpetrating of a child abuse, are not to work with children in our churches or in our schools. I'm not saying that we are to put them at the side and forget about them because we are a Christian community, but they are not to work with our children. Put them in a different category. They can go in the kitchen and work, but someone else has to be there with them and making sure that they're doing the right thing, make sure that they get therapy, make sure that they get counseling, make sure that they get everything that they need to help them to change the situation that they are in. Any questions so far? Any statement that you want to make? Develop a crisis management plan. Keep children in groups with adult supervision. When you're leaving to go any place, especially if you're a director, a Pathfinder or Adventure director, there are two adults to 5 children at all times. 2 adults to 5 children. In that way, one have the eyes in the front and one have the eyes in the back. So you can see. If you're in a room and you're dealing with a child, never go into a room with a child by yourself. You put the child and your back facing the wall and the child is in front of you. Make sure that you have an open door policy. The door remains open at all times. At all times. And if you have a second person, the second person sit close to the door so that you both can see what it is going on and hear what it is going on. Make sure that your children and yourself is safe. Because, yes, children do lie, but I would believe a child if the child tell me I am being abused before I believe an adult. And you might find that that is strange, but children have a way of always coming up and telling you the truth of what it is going on. Even though some do lie, the majority will tell you what it is going on. So if a child tells me, Sister Irish, I'm being abused and I need help, that's my first priority, to make sure that that child is safe and that child get the help that that child needs. And that whoever it is doing this situation, that we bring them forward and that the authorities handle them the way they need to handle them. You don't have to see the abuse happening. You just have to suspect it. You suspect an abuse is happening, report it. You don't have to give any explanation or anything. You call 911 if you don't have the state clearance number. You call 911 and you let them know, I'm calling you because there's a situation I think is going on and I need you to attend to it. Within 24 hours, the state is going to send someone to that child's house or that parent's house or wherever that child is at to explore the situation and to remove the child or children if they need to until they can find out what it is going on. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes children do lie. But you have to protect the children nevertheless. You remove the children, you check the situation out, and then if everything is okay, you put the child back.
Okay, let me tell you something. You think the child will be better? Why you want to put them?
I'm not saying that it's better, but I'm saying to you, in order to protect the child, that sometimes have to happen.
When do you remove them from their home to put them somewhere else?
Sometimes it has to happen. I'm not saying that in all cases it do happen, but sometimes it has to happen. And I said before, some children do lie, but I would believe a child, that the child is saying that the child is being abused before I believe an adult, and I would let the law or the situation play out itself.
I mean, like, they also,
Go ahead.
I mean, manipulation, there are some parents, like, when the child is saying, like, he or she's being abused, the parents just, like, give the adult the right, you know what I mean? And say that the kid is wrong, you know what I mean? I mean, if the kid say that, if the kid say to the parent, like, I'm being abused, you know what I mean? And the parent, most of the time, doesn't want to believe the kid, you know what I mean?
Sometimes
I mean,
that happens.
Yeah, that happens, so, yeah. I mean, I want that program to be educational, you know what I mean?
That's
the
why we're
parent,
here.
for when the child is talking to the parent, for the parent to believe, I mean, to go to a medical center or to an hospital to test if the kid is being abused, you know what I mean? And then, yeah, to have evidence and proof, yeah.
Well, yes, that's supposed to take place as well. Because sometimes children do lie, yes. We agree that children do lie. But we have to make sure that the child is safe. So we take the child out of the situation where the child is feeling unsafe and where the child feels that something else is happening to the child that is not warrant for the child to stay there because it would be more abusive for the child remaining in the situation. So sometimes the authorities have to come and remove the child and investigate the situation. And after they're done with the investigation, and they make their findings, then they deal with it. I hear what it is you're saying, miss?
Yeah, but that's what they need to do first, investigation first.
No, you need to protect the child at all costs. And the only way you can protect the child is to remove the child from the situation the child is at. Because you can leave that child there, and that child will continue to get abused if you don't believe that what's going on.
But the thing is, if the child call and say he's lying, you're gonna take the child.
If
Pack
what?
everything.
I didn't hear that. The door was opening. I didn't hear that. Go ahead.
If the child called to say I'm abusing, which is if the child is lying about it, come and pack everything, take the child.
They don't usually do that. They usually
You know
investigate
how you wanna go with them.
somewhat before they reach there, so they have some information,
You
either
will
from
pack
the neighbor, either from the landlord, either from the school. Some place is saying to them that there's a trail of paperwork that something is going on in that house. So before they ask any question, they would remove that child from the situation and then deal with it.
In that case, I will pack everything for you.
Well, some people say they would do that, but then would you prefer that your child stay in the home and being abused? Well, as I said to you, I would believe the child, and I think the authority would believe the child before they believe you as the adult. All right? Because parents do lie as well. Children do lie, but parents do lie as well. And in order to protect the child, that situation has to happen. It seems as though you have a question, sir?
The thing that I cannot understand about what you're saying is that the main child abuse in the system is the government itself. It's the government. The government is the best child abusers. Because they're the one that manufacture it. They're the one that makes it.
I'm not going to stand here and
Wait,
discern
wait.
that
Wait.
or argue that with you.
Okay,
I'm here to
okay,
give
good.
you
Okay, good.
information about how to protect yourself and how to protect your children. I am not the government. I never worked for the government.
You are now. because
Though I always
wait,
work
wait.
for a non-profit
You're the
organization,
counselor. You're the
but I
counselor
do
now.
know the law.
Oh, she's not retired.
I do know,
Words-
yes I am.
words don't get retired.
I am retired, but I am the child abuse coordinator for the Greater New York Conference, and I make sure, as part of my work within the ministry, that I go from church to church and educate everyone. So I'm not in the line of I am a retired social worker.
Okay, good. You're a retired SW, I understand that. But guess what? What do they do for the child abusers or the children at the level of the conference? Do they do anything?
The conference have been doing stuff, yes.
What you think they've been doing?
They have, I know
They
that
provide
for a
shelters?
fact, they go to the church, they talk to the people, they talk to the parents, they talk to the pastors, they put counseling or whatever it is that they need to put in place for either party, whether it be for the parents or for the children. And they have gone to court and paid millions of dollars to help save.
You see,
The people within the
you see,
church.
I like to talk about that. you know.
Okay, no, I'm not here to talk about that, and it's not going to happen.
Wait a second.
It's not going to happen. Let's continue, please.
Wait. I'm going to say one thing before we
Provide
go now.
ongoing training, and that's what I'm here for, just to provide ongoing training. I'm
good.
not here to
Why
take
are you
anybody's
assuming
information
a position where you don't want to talk?
No, I am not going there with you, sir, because that is not what I'm here for. I'm here to provide a training on the why and wherefore. So I am not going to stand here and accept what it is you're saying. If you have that situation, you can call the conference and speak to the conference about that. Okay, thank you. Continue. The local church should take reasonable steps to safeguard children, engage in church-sponsored activities by choosing individuals with high spiritual and moral backgrounds as leaders and participants in the program for children. So you can look that up in church manual, the revision in 2000. You have a question, miss? No, okay. All right. Churches are vulnerable. And for that reason, because we are a community of trust, our doors are open to anyone. Anyone should be able to come into this church and be comfortable within the church. Come to your service or anything that you are having, or any program that you are having, and feel comfortable bringing their children inside. So that's one of the reasons why we are vulnerable. Ignorance of facts concerning child abuse. Sometimes we don't know what child abuse is all about, how to deal with it, how to handle it, and what to look for. Lack of safeguards to protect children. Numerous opportunities to work with children. Sometimes we have a lot of different people working with children, as I said before, the children ministries, the youth department, the teen department, the Pathfinder and Adventurer Club, even the family ministries have to work with the children as well. We all are a part of our children, and so we should take care of our children. Okay. Easy access to children without screening requirements. That's why it's so important that everyone in the church, 18 and older, should get screening and should get the background check. So then that would take away from us having to worry about who is caring for our children and where our children is at while they're in church or in other activities. Constant need for volunteers. We're constantly asking for volunteers. We're constantly asking for volunteers, whether it's in whatever the primary department, the Sabbath school department for the youngsters, the cradle roll department, whatever. We all are volunteers. And because we are all volunteers, we are susceptible to the same situation. So we need to make ourselves available to make sure that we get the screening. And the screening, when you take it, it's being paid for by the conference, and so you don't have a way to say, well, I cannot take the screening because I don't have the money to pay for it. The conference will pay for each church member that needs to take the screening, just so that we make sure that our children are protected, or you yourself is protected from whatever the abuse may be, or if there is any abuse. So that's what it is. Who are legally mandated reporters? Am I a legally mandated reporter? Yes, I am. Not only because I'm a social worker, but because risk management is my thing within the churches. So I need to do that. But we all have to take accountability. The pastors are mandated reporters, the elders, the social workers, the nurse, the teacher, and this is a long list. It's over 1,000 people. So we all have to take responsibility for our children, and so we have to report it. And as I said before, you don't have to see the abuse happening. You just have to suspect it to report it. You suspect it, you report it. That's very, very important, because that can save a life of a child or even your own life. There are different types of abuse: physical abuse, mental and emotional, sexual abuse, neglect, and maltreatment. And the physical abuse, some things that you look for is burning or scalding of the child, suffocating or drowning, for example, holding the child underwater, trying to get the child drowned. That can be a physical thing. Poisoning the child, shaking. You ever heard of the shaken baby syndrome? Where the parent was so upset that the child keeps crying, and so they shake the child. And because they shake the child, it's called a shaken syndrome, so that can happen. Excessive pinching. I remember when I was doing social work back in the islands before I came to New York, a parent took a cigarette and lighted it and burned the child all over the body. Now tell me if that's not abuse. Yes, it is. When I was growing up, I don't think I was abused. I got a spanking, yes, and a spanking that I needed. But I wasn't abused because my body wasn't scalded. My body wasn't hurt. I didn't have any marks on my body. I didn't have any bruises. I didn't have any welts. I was just gotten a spanking. And it was because something that I had done wrong. Not that I was a bad child either. But they said, train up the child in the way he shall go, right? So you needed to train the child the right way. If the child needs a spanking, the law here in New York doesn't say that you don't spank your child. It says you don't abuse your child. And the difference is when you leave marks all over the body and the child is half dead or losing a limb or something like that. It doesn't mean that you cannot spank your child. The law never says not to spank your child. If your child needs a spanking, you spank the child, yes. And you let the child know that the child was doing something wrong, that's why the child got a spanking. But you don't do it in a haste, and you don't do it when you're angry. Because you know what happened when you're angry? All that strength and all that rage and all that anxiety and upsetness comes out into that hand. And it injures the child. So you have to be very careful. And children, have you ever been spanked? Don't be afraid. We're not going to hurt you. We're not here to hurt your parents either. But the difference, I just want you to understand the difference between being abused and being spanked. All right? Being abused, you can lose a limb, a hand, or a foot. You can, all over your body can be burnt. You can be scalded. You understand what I'm saying? That's the physical part of it. But being spanked is not a bad thing because some kids do need a spanking because of the things that they do and the way they're following other people and other peers telling them what to do. So you have to talk with the kids and find out what it is that's going on with them. She keeps telling me, put this in my mouth. I'm not accustomed to this. I talk loud. All right? Wearing of inappropriate clothes. It's 90 degrees weather, but yet still you're in turtleneck, you're in long sleeve, you're in jackets, you're in hat and scarf. Something is going on. Why would you walk around in a 90 degrees weather wearing a scarf and turtleneck and everything else? You're trying to hide something. So something is going on. Your antenna should go up that something is wrong. Mental, emotional abuse. Not allowing the child to express their views or opinion. Each child in this room has an opinion. Whether you like it or not, they do have an opinion, and they should be heard. I remember when I was growing up, they used to say a child must be seen and not heard. But I disagree with that, and my parents as well disagreed with that, because I was an only child, and I was able to talk to my parents and let them know what it is was going on with me. So they knew each step of the way. If I come home today upset, to look out, something is going on. If I'm happy, they know that I'm going to be happy all day, and I'm going to come back home happy unless something has happened at school or something has happened wherever I was before I come home. And these children have a voice. But the thing is, we as parents don't listen. We hear them, but we don't listen. We need to listen to our children. And we need to talk with them, not talk at them, but talk with them, dialogue with them, have a conversation with them. How was your day today? Can you tell me what that day was like? What did you do in school today, apart from gym or apart from recess? Is there anything else that was happening in school? Did you go to the gym? Were you in the English class or the science class? What project did you do? Talk to the children. Let them tell you what it is that's going on. If they didn't have that kind of thing, if they didn't bring home homework, find out. Because some kids will say, I didn't get any homework. But they have homework. So you need to have that kind of dialogue with them to find out more about what it is they need and what it is they have to complete, so that you wouldn't get a call from the school saying, your child has been coming to school for weeks, we have been sending you letters stating that the child can't read the board, the child needs to get glasses, and nobody is listening to that. So you need to talk to your children, understand where your children is coming from, and know your child or children. It's very important that you know your child, so that when something is going on, you can automatically say something is wrong. Antennas go up. Frequently shouting or threatening, giving the child a silent treatment as a punishment. Sometimes I've seen this happen. The parent is so angry and so upset that the child is saying something to them and they're ignoring the child. They wouldn't answer the child, they wouldn't talk back to the child, they wouldn't just ignore the child altogether. There's no reason that we should be able to not acknowledge our children. If our children have something to say, we need to hear what it is they have to say. So please, if that's happening within your household, please make a change. Talk to your children, not at them, but talk with them. Bullying, including online bullying. Children go online and they're talking to their friends and you don't know what's going on with the online bullying. So you need to understand that as well and have a cap on them so that you know that they're talking to someone that they're not supposed to be talking to. And listen to what it is that's going on. Make sure that you know what your children are doing at all times while they're at home as well. Don't leave them by themselves. At what age can you leave a child alone? At 14. And somebody else have another? 13. What about a 10-year-old? If that child is mature enough, you don't think that you could leave that child for at least half an hour or an hour? Yes. If that child is mature enough and bright enough to understand what it is that's going on with him or her and with you, you can leave that child for an hour or so. But make sure that you time in the time and that you're calling the child regularly or even FaceTiming the child to see what's going on with that child. You don't leave the child alone. You don't leave a 10-year-old to take care of a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old or a baby. That you don't do. A 10-year-old, if he's smart enough, he's mature enough. You have to know your child. If you know your child, you'll be able to deal with that situation. But if you don't know your child, don't take that chance. But the child has to be mature enough to know right from wrong, to know what it is that's going on, and to hear when mom said, I'll be back within an hour, don't open that door for anyone. But you're checking in. You have your phone, FaceTime, and that child should have a phone at home. I'm not saying that you give the child a phone to try to go to school or whatever, but at home they have a phone or your computer. You hook it up to your computer and you check on the child at intervals. So the child knows, mommy is not too far away from you. I can hear you, I can see you, I know what is going on with you, and I'll be back within a jiffy. Because sometimes we have to make situations like that. You have to run out to get something, and you may not be in a position to take the child with you. But if the child is mature enough, then you do that. If the child is not mature enough, please take that child with you. And do not leave a 5-year-old to take care of a 3-year-old or a baby, or a 9-year-old to take care of a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old or a baby, please. Do not leave that situation unattended and go any place. I see some faces looking at me like, is she for real? Yes, I'm for real. Because anything can happen. Anything can happen at any moment. So you need to know your child and know if they are mature enough to handle situations like that. If the child is appearing withdrawn, anxious or afraid, or lack of attachment to parent or caregiver. If the child is always afraid, something is happening. Or if you know that the child never was afraid of anything, but if the child come back home and you're talking to the child and the child putting up his hands like if you're going to hit him or hit her, your antenna should go up. Because my child, this is not my child. My child don't put up his hands when I'm talking to him or her. They listen to me. We listen to each other. We talk to each other. All of a sudden, he's coming and he's shunning me. He's afraid to be around me. Something else is happening. The child wasn't wetting the bed all the time. All of a sudden, the child started wetting the bed. Antennas should go up. Something else is going on. Yes, it may be a medical situation, but it is something else that is going on, so you check that out. Because some children do wet their bed and because it's a situation that they have. But other times, it could be that they are being abused, whether it is at home, whether it's at school, whether it's someplace else. So you'll check on that situation. Sexual abuse, assault by penetrating, such as a rape or oral sex. And you kids need to understand this. Oral sex is when, and they need to know this, and I'm going to tell it to them. Because we sugarcoat what it is we tell the children. And we should be talking about it at home and within the churches so that the children know what to expect and how to expect it and what not to do. Oral sex is when you take the penis of the man and you put it in your mouth. Or you take the vagina of the person and the young man is kissing the person. The penis, you always have to say a penis. You don't say it's a pee-pee or you say something else. Because the children need to know, this person touched me in my vagina. Or this person touched me on my private part, and they need to know what that private part means. We have to stop sugarcoating it for our children and stop telling our children, it's a wee-wee, it's a pee-pee. That is not, because when they go before the courts or they go before the magistrate or they go before the lawyers is not going to ask them, what's a pee-pee? The God is going to ask them, did he touch your vagina? Did he touch your penis? And you have to be able to answer that. And the kids are big enough. They're all here and they know what the difference are. They need to know that and you need to talk to them about that. We sometimes shy away from talking to our children, like the pastor said. Sometimes we don't tell the children or we don't tell the people that we love what it is going on. And so because they don't know what to do or what to say, they shy away and then they get abused. So we need to let them know to call the name by their name. And they need to know also what is good touch and what is bad touch. No one is supposed to touch them on any part of their body. No one is supposed to touch you guys on any part of your body. You tell them, no, I don't like it. Stop. And make sure that your parents or an adult is aware that that is happening to you. When you're touching a child, you touch a child on the shoulder. If you're giving a child a hug, you always ask first, can I give you a hug? You don't run up on a child or an adult and just hug them unless you know that person. Like this morning, I came in and I hugged my friend because I knew her and she knew me. So I hugged her. And I didn't hug her closely and tightly. I just gave her a peck on her cheeks and I hug her. But as a child, you hold the child on the shoulder when you're talking to the child. You don't hold the child this way and you don't hug the child this way, face to face, shoulder to shoulder, side to side. The children need to know what is a good touch and what is a bad touch. Good touch is touching you on your shoulders, touching you from side to side. Bad touch is touching you on your private parts or touching you in a way that makes you uncomfortable. If that is happening to you, it needs to stop now. The change in mood or appetite. You have a child that's eating very healthily, always eating and not afraid of the food that you give to him or her, and eat very lustily. All of a sudden, you put the food in front of the child and the child just sit there and sulking over the food, doesn't want to eat, doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to do anything. Your antenna should go up. Something else is going on. So investigate it. Check it out. Talk to the child. We talked about leaving a child alone for a long time, so we did that already. Having dental or medical care. If the child is going to school and the teacher said that the child can't see the board, and the teacher sends letters home time and time again, and you did not respond, the law can take it into their hands to arrest you. And it wouldn't be nobody's fault but your own because you neglected that child and you neglected to answer to the school. If you know that your child likes to run away, when you bring the child to school or you send the child to school, the child don't go to the school, the child reaches in front of the school and leaves, it is your responsibility as a parent to take that child by the hand, bring the child into the school, to the principal, to the security guard, or whoever is in charge for that morning, and sign that child in and said, I'll be back at 3 o'clock for my son or daughter. And you leave. If that child runs away from school, it's now the school's responsibility, not yours. But if you know that this child is running away all the time and they said, bye, son, I'll see you tomorrow, you let the child go to school, and by the time the child reaches the front of the school, the child leaves and goes about his business. You're responsible. Even if you take the child and you drop the child in front of the school, you saw the child going into the yard, but then by the time you drive off, the child come back out before the teacher or whoever could see the child, and the child leaves. You are responsible. Because you know your child is running away, it is your responsibility to take that child by the hand and sign that child in. And then when you come back and you pick up that child and you sign that child out, you know that your child is going to be safe and that the school authorities can't say anything to you. And the law is going to be on your side and not on their side. Any questions? Do you have a question? Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, it's good. Let's say you get yourself into a situation. You're working for an organization that provides after school for kids that are placed in foster care. There's two scenarios in this. The first one, let's say you walk to the foster care family and you have the child in front of you and you start helping them with their homework. And suddenly you can hear a noise, like a growling noise. And then when you figure out it's the child's stomach that's making the noise. And when you turn around, you saw the fridge with a lock in it. A chain around it, plus a lock in it. So the first thing to do is to call your supervisor. And then you reported it. And then they say, okay, we're gonna investigate. The second scenario is that you go to a different house. This time it's two young kids, a 13 and a 14 female. So let's say when you do work with them, you go to their room to do work with them. To go to their room, you have to go through the living room. Let's say one afternoon you're working in the living room, you see like over 10 young men sitting in the living room. They're not watching TV, TV's not on, they're not talking to each other, they're all on their phone. They're over 10 of them, probably 20 and up. So now, when you're walking in, the first thing you're gonna get scared yourself. When you're working with the kids, usually you work with two. The state usually said if each kids can have an hour, but if both of them are in the same house, you can work with them at the same time. Instead of doing 2 hours, you do 1 hour with both of them. Let's say you walked in, and there's only one kid in the bedroom, the 13-year-old. When you ask her for a sister, and then she said, oh, she's busy right now. So automatically you have to work with that one first, and then with the other one. So let's say you're done with the 13-year-old, and then she went and called her sister. And she come in, short of breath. She could barely breathe, and she's sweating. And then you can tell something is not right, but because when you're looking at them, they have jewelry, expensive jewelry on them. They have a chain, they have bracelet, all that. Let's say now, you can't just go and ask them, what's going on. You have to be careful yourself because you're in the room by yourself with them, and then there's a bunch of young men sitting in the living room. That's kind of scary. Let's say you're trying to find out what's really going on. You used to work with them, you know them. And then when you're trying to ask her the question and suddenly her face change, it's not that little girl you used to work with that you're talking to. It's like a growing up woman. Her face change and everything, and then she just say to you, oh, I'm a growing up woman. I work for my money. I don't need school. I work enough to take care of myself. In a situation like that, what do? Let's say you call your supervisor and you reported it. They did nothing about it. So you went to the office and you reported it. And then they try to turn it around saying, oh, maybe it's because you have to do 2 hours, and then instead of doing 2, you wanted to do 1 hour instead of doing 2 hours. That's why you make it up the stories. And then later on, you just find out they just transfer it to another case. So what do you do with a situation like that?
Can you hear me? Hello? 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 It's on, but it's not. Yeah, anyway. With the first? with the first child where you saw the refrigerator locked? The refrigerator is not so ever supposed to be locked for no child. The child's supposed to be able to go into the refrigerator and get a bottle of juice or a bottle of water or some fruits or whatever it is that they want. So in a foster care situation, that's a no-no. They're not supposed to have that refrigerator locked. Where was the foster parents when you saw that? And what did she say to you? You ask her, why is the fridge locked? That's the first question. Mrs. So-and-so, I just saw pass and I saw the refrigerator locked. Why is it locked? Please unlock it. It's not supposed to be locked. Because they're hiding food from the children. And food should not be a deterrent for children to be in foster care. And if they're in foster care, why? Their food is so easy to get. You can go to the food banks and you can do a lot of different things to get food for the children. So why are you hiding the food from the children? So that would be the first question I would ask her. Mrs. So-and-so, I saw the refrigerator locked. Why is it locked? And the next thing I would say to her, please unlock it and don't let me see it locked again. And I would turn to the child and I said, next time you see this refrigerator is locked, call me. Let me know. I'm coming back in here, and I'm not coming by myself. I'm bringing my supervisor with me. So my supervisor can see exactly what it is I'm saying. And I'm writing it up too. And I'm calling a meeting on it.
1, 2.
When she comes in, I'm calling a meeting to know why she had that refrigerator locked from the children or the child that is in her home. Because that's not supposed to happen at any time. With the second situation, as I'm walking in and I see all these people, I know they're not supposed to be living there. I'm asking, who are all these people, Mrs. So-and-so? I call in her aside. I'm not asking them in front of everybody. I'm pulling her aside. I said, when we did the home study didn't have all these people living here or visiting here. So who are all these people? Why are they here? What purpose? And she had to answer me. Okay, but cousins not supposed to come over with other cousins wearing jewelry and sitting down there, have fancy phones and everything else. The agency is supposed to know on paper that these people come to the house to visit. And you would know that because you visit in the homes regularly on a monthly basis. So you should know who's supposed to visit there and who's not supposed to visit there. And you would say to her, before I go to talk to the children, I'm kindly asking you to dismiss these people from the home, and they're not supposed to come back. I'm calling 911 if there still remains. I call in my supervisor as well, and I'm letting her know, or he know, that this is what I'm finding in the house. These are a lot of young people in the 20s, 90s, and 18s who is not on the roster, who are not supposed to be visiting, who are not related to the children or anybody else in this house. And I need them gone. Next thing, I'm asking her, kindly go and get the children that I came to see. I'm not walking straight through because I don't know what else I'll meet when I keep walking. Because I could be walking and there could be somebody else in the back there with a gun or a knife or whatever waiting for me. So I'm not going through there. I'm staying right here. Please kindly go and get the 2 kids and bring them back. And when they bring them back, I said, I'm going downstairs. I'm taking them with me. We're going and talk. And I'll bring them back when we finish. And I'm taking the 2 kids out of the house. We're going downstairs. And I'm trying to find out from them what exactly is happening. They may tell you. They may not tell you because they may be scared to tell you. But if you feel that there's a neglect or situation going on, or an abuse situation going on, or whatever the situation is going on, you don't need to take those children back in there. You suspect it, you report it. And you report it to your supervisor, and you report it to the state. You don't keep those children in that situation. I've had to deal with that many times. I'm not supposed to take children home to my house, but one night I had to. Because I went to the foster home in the daytime, the children are not there. I went after school, the children are not there. I went 9 o'clock, the children are not there. I wake up my husband at 12 o'clock and I said, please, I need to see these children because on my watch, nobody is going to get hurt and nobody is going to die. I need to go back. I went back. She know the children was there. I waited. And when they came out minutes after 2 with bags of stuff. I don't know where they get it from, what it is. I didn't even ask what it was inside of there. I just called the on-call supervisor, and I said, I have these 2 children. I've been trying to reach them for the all day. I told about the scenario of what the times that I went and what it is I do. And I said, I am not leaving these children here tonight. If you cannot find me a place to put them, I'm taking them to my home, and I'll bring them back to the office tomorrow. But before I take them home, I get a medical clearance on them. I took them to the emergency room, and I get a medical clearance on them and make sure that they were okay. They didn't have any marks. They didn't have any bruises, because I'm not going to take them to my house. And then tomorrow morning, found out that they have marks and bruises on their bodies, and then I'm responsible for it. So I took them to the clinic. They did that. I got the paperwork. I let the supervisor again know, because they couldn't find a placement for them that night. And early that next morning, I made them bathe and change their clothes, because I had kids in my house also. I gave them clothes, and I took them back to the office, and I let the supervisor handle the situation. So don't ever put yourself into a situation to try to go in to another situation and you're not sure what's behind that closed door or what else is happening there. And then you can go back and make another visit another time, but you don't ever go by yourself. Probably get a police to accompany you, and the supervisor or assistant or a case aide or somebody else. So the 3 of you go, you're more likely to be safer, and then you can get more gist of what's happening. After that, you call for a meeting. Whether it's the adoption department, the foster care department, the living situation department, whatever it is, department it is, you call them and you have a representative from each of those departments there in that meeting. And either you close the home if you need to close the home, or you put them on suspension until that is cleared up. No other children are supposed to go in there until that is cleared up. Does that answer my question? Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. Hello. 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 I have a sister that's saying that she's been doing her life taking care of these foster children. But what we found out, this is the biggest business that could ever happen, because the children are small, and if you keep doing that business, by the time for them to get old and lost, because at the end of the game that's what happened, you get your money well. So what it is here now, it looks like the system that you are showing us here is the same system that the government have. Is it?
I'm not showing you anything that the government have. I'm giving you a perspective from the church.
Okay, but if
church
it's
ministry's perspective.
Okay,
but I'm giving you answers as well as
wonderful,
to what to do.
Wonderful. Now, if it is from the church, okay, have they done something to gather those children that are fatherless, sometimes motherless, sometimes somebody trying to help them out?
I cannot go there with you either. As I said before, I am not here to talk about what the conference would do or what the conference wouldn't do. As from a church perspective, from risk management, I'm here to tell you
because I could help them.
Wait a minute. I'm here to tell you how to protect your children. You want to get political with me, and I wouldn't go there with you.
No, but I tell you what, there is no way. There is no way this is not political. Because I deal with the Jews.
I'm not going to go there with you, sir.
I deal with the Jews. You see, you just mentioned that you cannot leave a child 9 years old. The Jews do it, and it's no problem. So at the end of the game now,
I cannot tell you what the Jews would do, what the Jews would do.
You are representing the conference
I am representing.
that is hiding things. Yes, they are hiding things. Because now in school, you could talk about sexuality with a child 5, 6 years old. It's allowed now, okay? The government is abusing the people themselves. So what it is now, God has told us.
With you, sir, I
know you don't want to go there, but we got to get there. We don't
have to get there.
That's part of the truth.
And it's not going to go there.
Okay, if you don't want to go there now, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do for somebody who just got into church, okay, just got converted and have that problem. That means you cannot help them out.
No, you want to get political.
But we are doing political business here because you don't want to talk. Where's the truth in it?
You have something to say, miss?
Where is the truth in it?
Go ahead.
Whatever it is in the church is out there. The truth has to be told to the people that are there. Now, if you don't want to talk, okay, you hide. No, she got it. You want to hide something. We are not trying to politicize anything, but it is politics. How are you going to take it out? You can't take it out. Can't take it out. Otherwise, I know exactly what you're going to say, but we got to take.
I'm glad you can read my mind.
Wait, I could read your mind because I know you for a long time, okay? If we have some children here that have problems. And I guarantee you that the money that it costs to help them out, the conference cannot afford it. The conference is receiving money to help people out now, and they put it in themselves like they're doing something. They are not.
Excuse me? Let the child ask the question.
Go ahead, sweetie.
What happened if the son or the daughter go to after school and then the security guard pretend that the son or the daughter ran away and you didn't see the son or the daughter run away?
It's the responsibility of the daycare to find that child and to make sure that that child come back safely.
But what happened if they don't come back safely?
Then the authorities have to get involved. 911 has to be called, and the state clearance has to come in. The people from the welfare has to come in, and they have to do a big investigation as well to try to find that child back. But if you know where the child is at, you also need to make sure that you let them know that you know where this child is at. If you do know. If you don't, then don't worry about it. Does that answer your question, or you need something else? Thank you.
What I want to point out, as much as I love my dear brother Olivier, we're not here to talk about what we cannot do. We're here to talk about what we can do.
Exactly.
We're not here, it's not the job of the conference, because remember, it's not just one aspect, the foster care aspect, but also we're talking about how we can abuse our children. Unfortunately, in our culture, not just Haitian culture, the West Indian, the Caribbean, we abuse our children without knowing it because we've been abused too. What I'm saying, and from time to time, I'll switch to Creole, my dear sister. If there is to pull our ears like this, we don't have to do it to our children. In this very same church, we had families, and I'm not going to call names, who beat the teenagers so bad, they end up in the hospital.
That's abuse.
And as a nurse, I saw the father was there at all times. I have to tell him, be careful. Because I'm a nurse, I know they watch your movement. Why are you standing next to the child so often so they don't talk? Parents si moun nak te bat li al en top l'hôpital. Li kampe kote si moun nan pou ti moun nan pa pale. M'dil pa fè ça parce qu'il a veillé ou. From the time the child is born, as a nurse, they tell us to watch for bonding. Est-ce que maman ti moun nan kembel bien? Yap gade ou parce que si yo wè depuis l'hôpital là ou pas besoin ti moun nan, they will put this child in a place. I had a patient. M'te gon patient. Li nan Rikers Island. M'pap di l veut rien parce que nous pas konn non. Yo di m'gade pou l'wè si ti moun nan gen bonding. Watch if the mother has bonding. She had bonding with her child. The child was going to go to foster care. What I'm trying to tell you as parent, be careful. Don't call your children fatso, ugly, because this stays with them. This is abuse too.
Emotionally it does. Yes.
In this very
Emotionally
same
and psychology.
church, I heard people calling their child grotet. I tell them, don't do it. Because when somebody, what, you laughing? When somebody calls them ugly and grotet, they think it's true because you're supposed to love them and you do it too. And also, I'll tell you, it's not the job of the church. Yes, I was the head of the children division. I've worked with children division. I watch over them. But it's you, the parent. Don't come to the church and just leave your kid and run away. I have to say that, Frère Lavoisier and I, if one wasn't around, one was around. I didn't trust every family with my children because not everybody has the same principle. Don't come and just leave your children. Talk to your children. Tell, just like our sister said, if anybody touch you in any way you're comfortable, come and talk to me. But if we terrorize the children, they cannot even talk to us. Shut up. They won't tell you anything. And I'll tell you one thing. I'm a to-your-face person. The day at Kings County doing my training as a nurse in pediatry, I saw a 6-year-old who was sexually abused. They told us already, put gloves because she probably have sexually transmitted disease. You see this face here? After that, Laura, I look at her. She looks so much like Laura with a lot of hair. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm to your face. I'm not a sinner who says I'm so holy. I went home, I said, God, spare me, because if anybody will do that to my child, I will kill them with my own hands. That was what I said to the Lord. Because I'll tell you one thing and I'll stop. One place in the Bible where he says, if anybody hurt children, put something around their neck and drown them. The woman who was an adulteress, what did God say? Go and sin no more. Because if you mess up a child, they can be married. If you abuse them sexually, verbally, you mess them up for life. When Christ said, if you take one of, this is the only instance he said that. You steal from the government, Zacchaeus, forgive, go and sin no more. If anybody hurt any of those children, drown them. That's what he said. Because you know, when you hurt a child, you hurt them for life. So I, your sister, let mon timon, make mon titet libese. Un gros grand moun, plein moun prostitute. A lot of prostitute, go and do something. You take a 6-year-old, and you know the characteristics, sister. The child didn't do anything, they felt embarrassed. Tête libese comme ça. For something she didn't do. A grown-up, un sans honte, abuse un petit monde sexuellement. To the point que nous-mêmes, nurses, students, they nous put gloves because she might have disease. This child is messed up for life. So parent, don't abuse your children with work. Really, go tête, go figi, go ne. You want money to fat. We have to stop that in our community. It's not just beating them. You can beat and mess up somebody with their mental. They go in life thinking, I'm ugly. So when somebody tells them they love them and they beat them, they think it's love. What's love got to do with it? I raised 3 with the help of God, but my eyes were watching them. And you know, people know that. I used to put one. I put Laura in the shopping cart, and I hold the other hand. You know, people were watching me. When my mother came to this country, one of my neighbors said, is somebody with the children? How do they know they were watching me? One in the shopping cart. Because I never leave them for a moment. You know why? Quickly they can take a matches and start a fire.
It can happen.
There is always a way. There is always a way. Better you work half a job, but your eyes are on your children, because God is going to ask you, what did you do with them?
And that's why it's important that you know your children.
Exactly.
Because if you know your children, you'll be able to understand what it is that's going on with them. And I cannot stress that enough, to know your children. You need to supervise your children at all times. You need to know where the exits are in your home and where the exits are in the church. Because anyone can come into the church. You see, I went downstairs and there was a lot of doors. Anybody can come through those doors. So if a child is going to the bathroom, which is all the way downstairs, an adult should go downstairs with them, or a brother and a sister. And you don't go in the stall with that child. It's that child is an age where that child can do their business and come out by themselves. You stand up outside of the stall and wait for them. And then when they finish, you bring them upstairs again and you bring them back. Sometimes the parents are not able to go downstairs. Another adult can accompany them downstairs, just carrying them downstairs. It's the same way when you go to Pathfinder and Adventurers. You know, you entrust your children with a Pathfinder or a staff to take care of your children. And for 25 years plus, I've been in charge of the bathrooms at church, at Cambodia, whenever we have Pathfinder or Adventurer. And people used to get mad with me, parents used to get mad with me, when I say you cannot bring a 9-year-old or 8-year-old boy into the girls' bathroom. Or you cannot take an 8-year-old girl into the boys' bathroom. I used to hear it. They call me all sorts of names. I didn't mind. Because my job was to ensure that each child was safe. And that's what I continue to do, to make sure that they're safe. I no longer take charge of the bathroom, because I felt that I've done my duty with that, so someone else is taking care of it. But at the same time, I still put my eyes out to make sure that all our children, whether it's in an Adventist community, whether it's at church, wherever I am, I'll be walking the streets and I see something happening with a child, and I said, Mom, wait a minute. That's not the way to deal with your child right now. Can you calm down? Can you talk nicely to your child and find out what it is that's going on with that child? And my kids keep telling me, Ma, somebody going to shoot you one of these days. Because I cannot see it and leave it. I always intervene, and I said, I'm not intervening because I want to mind your business. I just want to make sure that you are safe and your child or children are safe. And then I say what it is I have to say, and I talk with them, I counsel them, and I let them go on their way. If it's something that I need to follow up on, I take names and numbers, trust me. I take names and numbers, and I follow through myself. Throughout the pandemic, I was following through with other situations. I don't take money for what it is I do. This is a ministry to me. And so I go from place to place. I don't care if I have to take a donkey, I have to take a shopping cart, whatever it is I have to take, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I came here this morning by train, and I go by faith. I go by faith. I have a bad knee. Nobody knows. I have a bad knee. I have a bad back. I was in an accident not too long ago. I go for physical therapy 3 to 4 times a week, chiropractor and pain management and everything. You see me standing up here, I look strong, right? But there are things that are going on with me, but I don't worry about it because God is taking care of it. So that's where we need to go with it. Not get political, but understand that God is in control. And God is going to take care of every situation that we have if we let him. Always remember that. Our children, you talk to them, you let them know what they can and cannot do, what it is they need to understand, and what it is they need to do in case of an abusive situation. And once they are understanding that, and they know that, and they know to say, stop, I don't like it, and make sure that an adult or their parents is aware of what it is that's going on with them, you are okay. The next thing that I need to say to you, get yourself with the church. Make sure that the church has information on you that you are not a perpetrator, that you're not hurting your child or children or your family in any way by doing the background screening and the background check. And you don't have to pay for it. This is coming out of the pockets of the conference. So, and sometimes you may say, well, I'm from Haiti, but I'm not straight. So why it is I need to take this? We are not here to say to the police or to say to immigration, Fulano de Tal or this person is not straight, so go after them. That's not what we are here for. We want you to take the background check and the screening so that we can assure each of you and our parents that you are not going to hurt our child in any way. That's the only reason we're asking you to take it. So when you're asking yourself or someone else, we're coming from a different community, a Hispanic community or a Jewish community, wherever it is they're coming from, and they're part of a Seventh-day Adventist community, they have to take it. Pastors have to do it too. School teachers have to do it, and you may say, I did it with my school because I'm a nurse, I did it for the nurse. But we as the conference don't know that you did it already. So you either get that information to them or you take it over and make sure that they have it. All they need to see is that you have never been abusive to a child. And if anybody else coming into your space to say that I want to be a volunteer, there's a 6 months to a year rule that you need to follow. Make sure that you're seeing this person around your children, seeing this person with their own family, how they're dealing with their own family, seeing this person dealing with other children and other family members, getting background check from where they're coming from. They may come from the Virgin Islands, from Trinidad, from Jamaica, from Haiti, from wherever they come from. You need a letter from that church saying that they're in good and regular standing and that you can depend on them. I just finished doing my chaplaincy, my disaster chaplaincy training, and they needed an endorsement letter from me. They weren't going to approve anything that I have done without an endorsement letter. So I had to get an endorsement letter from 2 groups, from Northeastern Conference because I'm a medical cadet within Northeastern Conference, and I'm a chaplain and I'm also a captain within that department. And I'm a Greater New York Conference youth leader. I'm also a director for my church, so I had to get it from my church as well. And I had to send that in to the city before they can say to me, Miss Irish, you're now a disaster chaplain. Even though I take all the classes, I did all the tests, I did everything that I needed to do. Without that endorsement letter, and without me doing some other classes or FEMA, Federal Employment Management Assistance classes, I couldn't get certified as a disaster chaplain. And if you know what a disaster chaplain is, it's just a regular chaplain, yes, but we are trained in disaster. I volunteer with Office of Emergency Management and within my community, South Bronx Emergency Network. So I do a lot. So that's why I say I don't tell people who I am, just let them know that I'm a child of God. Because if I go to tell you who I am, you say, this lady is crazy. She can't do all of that, but I'm doing it. And I'm doing it by God's grace. And people look at me and they say to me, my friend here said to me, you haven't changed in over 30 years. No, I haven't. By God's grace. I never do anything by myself. It's always by God's grace. And God brought me here today. He's going to continue to bring me and wherever I need to go. Because if you had seen the accident in February, you have said Sister Irish is a goner. But he has work for me to continue doing. And that's why I go from church to church, making sure that our children and our families understand how to protect their children. Don't be afraid to call 911 if you see something. Or even if you suspect it, you don't have to see it. You suspect it, you call it in. Let the authorities deal with it.
I'm very happy that you mentioned that because that's why I ask questions. I ask questions to find out who I'm dealing with, okay? As a chaplain, I'm an emergency 24 hours. 24 hours,
yes.
Okay? I'm a state chaplain, different than you. So God has empowered me to do a lot of things. If there is something in the street, I cannot go. I got to fix that thing right now. What I'm trying to make you understand here now, you see the difference? You just mentioned, you said I'm there for politics. You cannot take politics out of religion. You just mentioned to us
Right.
that when the kids going out there now, you make sure that the son, the boys go together. Don't you know that Obama has passed a law that girls and boys could get the same thing? That's where politics is. So now
I'm not
I apologize to you.
I don't deal with politics.
Yeah. No,
I vote
but-
yes.
yeah,
I vote
yes.
Because it's my right
But
to vote.
now,
and
if you say you're doing it because you love the Lord, I took my hat off.
That's the only reason I do
No,
it.
politics is going to come up because Obama, that was president, he has passed a law for
I
little
became a
girl and
social
girls.
worker because it was
Can't
God's
take
will.
politics out of it.
It was God's will for me to become a social worker.
I have a question.
Question here, please.
What about parents that's always arguing in front of their children? Is that considered abuse? If it is, what type of abuse?
Emotional abuse. You need to talk to your children, not argue with them and fight with them.
No, not fighting with them, the parents between them. The
both
mom and the
parents?
dad. The mom and dad
It could
arguing
be
all the
it
time.
could be an abusive situation too. It could be an abusive physical. It could be emotional. It could be psychological. It could be all of those things. Not it could be. It is all of those things. Because in front of the children, they're fighting with each other. You might think it's not fighting, but they are. They're quarreling with each other. That's fight. Words. And words are unkind. Say all kinds of things in front of each other and then say to the child, I don't like you because you look like your father. Or I don't like him. He looks just like his father. You see him? You see him? Look at him. Look at him. He's doing the same thing as his father used to do. Those are not supposed to happen. If the adults need to conversate among each other, never before the children. I grew up in a home, only child. I never hear my mother and my father argue. My mother died at 98. She would have been 104 years this year. My dad died at 81. I used to call him Mutt and Jeff because my dad is 7'3" and my mom is 4'8". And they used to walk and hold hands in the street. We used to call them Mutt and Jeff. He said, look, Mutt and Jeff coming here. Yeah, the older folks might know what Mutt and Jeff is, but the younger ones wouldn't know. It's a cartoon, right? And I never hear them argue or fight or quarrel because they never did it in front of me. They probably did it when I was asleep or when I was out of the house. And my house, I was an only child, but I didn't grow up as an only child. There were 18 cousins that was living with us. And my mother took care of them. That's why I still continue her legacy. Because right now I have 4 kids and a mother living in my house, no relation. No relation. But they call me grandma, they call my husband grandpa, they call my daughter auntie, and my 3 boys uncle. And they are treated just like that. Anywhere they want to go, they can get to go. Anything they need, they can get. And if you see those kids, you will swear it's my kids because they look like me. But I'm grandma, and nobody can say that. If I didn't tell you that and you see them now with me, people will say, oh, look at her grandchildren. And I don't go about telling people they are not my grandchildren. They are. When Dana came to me, she was 4 years old. The little one was a year and a half. She's 15, the other one is 19. She's in her second year of college. The mother has 2 others, a 7-year-old and a year-old. And the 7-year-old hold on to my dress, stay like nothing. Because this is grandma. And when the big one tried to give me lip, she said, you can't do that. That's Grandma Irish. You can't talk to Grandma like that. So you don't have to make children or bear children for them to be your own. You love them, you provide for them, you give them the best of life, and they are your children. And that's why when I go to any church, I say our children. I never say your child or my child. These are all our children. And because they are all our children, we have to be protective of them. And we have to make sure that when God calls us again, we have to give account. He's not going to ask me for my 4 only. He's not going to ask me for my daughter and my 3 boys. He's going to say, where are all the other kids that I loaned you? So I have to make sure that they are well and they are doing well under the realm of God. Any question, anything else? I think I should stop it here for today. Okay? If you need me to come back, we can talk about other situations. No politics. we can talk about other things. We can talk about bullying. We can talk about other things. All right? All right? So thank you again for having me. So thank you again for having me. I would always be willing to go anywhere. And my motto is, I will go wherever, whenever called upon.
Sister Agatha, I said it right, Sister Agatha. Thank you so much for coming today because you left whatever you had to do today and you had to take the train and the bus to be here. We appreciate it. May God continue to bless you, bless your family and your ministry. We really appreciate it. And next time, since we talk about child abuse now, maybe next time we can talk about senior abuse. There's a lot of old people that our grandmother, grandfather that are living in the nursing home that have been abused and they don't know how to express themselves or they're scared. Maybe we can have another meeting about that. We really appreciate it. All right. And I want to thank everyone who came this afternoon to support the children ministry. May God continue to bless each and every one of you. And Sister Katenka have a special gift for you. It's not a lot, but we hope you like it. Thank you. Good. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna ask you guys to stand up. All right, since we're having another meeting with the health department outside, so we're gonna only sing one strophe and number 330. So don't leave after that. Don't just go home. Just go outside. There's a free
screaming blood pressure.
All right, so please stay. 3:30.
À toi, mon Dieu, je m'abandonne. Oh, fais de moi ce que tu veux. De l'argile que je te donne, fais un diamant précieux. Prends Seigneur, prends toute ma vie. À toi seul je veux obéir. Par l'Esprit qui me sanctifie, sur ton autel je viens m'offrir.
Oh, si nous avons pasteur Saint-Jean avec nous, on a demandé pasteur Saint-Jean s'il a fait prière finale pour nous.
Fermons les yeux. Merci pour notre Dieu, notre Père, pour la possibilité que vous accordez à chacun de nous pour nous bénéficier de cette formation en ce qui a trait aux abus, aux différents abus que Timonio fait face, se confronter. Aidez-nous pour nous capables de corriger, ça pour nous corriger et pour nous mettre connaissance en pratique qui va aider nous à gagner une très bonne communauté ecclésiale. Fait du bien à chacun de nous. Merci pour celle qui instruit nous, permettre qu'elle soit capable toujours disposer à la formation des uns et des autres. Bénis-nous, bénis les journées de sabbat pour nous, bénis les déplacements, nos parcours, nous. Fais-nous du bien avec pardon, péché-nous en Jésus et pour sa gloire au siècle des siècles. Amen. Merci.
Jean nous dit, ce n'est pas département santé, c'est l'église, activité pour l'église. Nous avons sorti dehors, nous avons flyer, nous prenons le bail. Profitez des moments ça pour nous capables de faire évangélisation et santé en même temps. Al connaît numéro nous,